Hello guys, welcome to my channel once again. I must really say I've missed you guys, it's been a while. Thank you for your constant support, for liking my videos, for sharing and for subscribing. If you're still there, you've not subscribed to my channel and this is your first time, please kindly hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn on the post notifications, any videos I'll be dropping anytime soon from now. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can create this flyer in CorelDraw with few steps which I'll be breaking down, so it will be very easy for you to follow along if you are a beginner, intermediate or a professional. So do well to follow along, and the resource file I used for this video is below in the description section, so do well to download them so you can follow along with me. Without further ado, let's get started. So I'll go over to my CorelDraw software. I'll click on File and I'll click on New. For this, I'm using a CorelDraw 2021. If you need this particular version of CorelDraw, you can hit me up in my DM or just drop a yes in the comment section and I'll be sure to get back to you. So first things first, I'd like to do is I'll click on New. Click on New, I'll make sure I give it a name. So I'll just go up here and give it a pizza flyer. Yeah, that's what we'll be creating in this tutorial, right? So I'm going to set my primary color mode to RGB, and moving on, 5 by 5, and it stays in inches please, and the resolution stays in 300, so you have a crisp and clear design at the end of the day. You don't have things that are pixelating and all of that. I'll be doing a video dedicated towards how you can save, how you can export to different file formats, and how you can make sure that at the end of the day what you've designed doesn't come out looking grungy and with less resolution. So the next thing I will do, having done all of this, is I'll click OK. Right, so as you can see now, it opens up a new blank document for us to start with. So the first thing I want to do is I'll double click, as we've always done before, double click on this rectangle to create a new rectangle. This is the basis on which we're working on. So I'll just go over and just give it a random color. I'll just give it white and make sure I remove the outline color. Come over here and right click on this to remove the outline color. So as you can see now, it doesn't have an outline color. So let's get straight to the business of the day. So the first thing we're working on now, design this flyer, is the background. So let's work on designing the background. Now I'll go over to where I have my, because I would like to use my primary colors first as the foundation for this design. So attached to your resource file, you can also find that here. So I'll go over to where I have mine and click on this SVG files that says colors. I'll just drag and I'll drop inside like this. And for if you cannot drag and drop like a few of us that can drag and drop like this, just go over to where you have your file and you click on import and you locate where it is, then bring it inside. It's as simple as that. So having done this, I would go ahead to ungroup them so they're all standing alone. So this is the basis of where I grew my design from. So these three colors. So the first thing first, we'll be using these three colors, combination of these three colors to get our background. So how do we get that? Very simple. Now using the CorelDraw, I'll just click on G on the keyboard. It brings up the interactive field tool, or you can just come up here and activate the interactive field tool to select it like this. And the first thing we want to do is we'll be drawing from this point to this point. Now this is where it gets interesting. So now you have line 1 and line 2, right? So we're going to replace these blank spaces that gradients created with colors. So the first thing I want to do is I'll click on this first one, right? I'll bring it down a little bit. I'll click on it, and when this pops up, this note color, I would open it up like this. With this eyedropper tool here, I'll click on it and select this one first. This is my first color, guys. Good. Now I haven't done this, I'll just close this up and go back to my pick tool. Always resolve back to the pick tool, guys. Now to activate this interactive fill tool back again, what you can just do is just press G on your keyboard and wham, it comes back to your screen again. So the next thing I'll do is I'll click on this point, click on this node again like we did in the first time for this, select this picker tool and select this color, right? Good. And now one last thing to do before I go back to, I would create another point here. So how do we create that? You know, we have just two, we have just one, two. So how do you create that? Just go over the line. When you have this 4 shape square, just double click on the line like this, right? You can see I've created another box there, which I'll be filling with color, which is this color in the middle. So what do I do again? I click on this and I click on node color. I would select eyedropper tool and select this color, right guys? And make sure you set it like this from this point to this point. Make sure I'll just pull this up a bit and make sure this doesn't exceed that point. So I'll just drag it up like this, and when I'm done with it, I'll just simply go back to my pick tool, and that's for the background. So to get things on the way, the next thing I'll be bringing in is this building I used for the design, just to make sure that the background is it's all spiced up for what we intend to use it for. So the next thing I want to do is I'll go over to my source file and I'll bring in this city, drag and drop. It's actually fun when you're dragging and dropping. So what I will do is I will position this in the right place I want it to be. You can see the color is a little bit off and all of that. We don't have to worry about that. We'll just go over to where I have the transparency tool, and I'll be selecting it and make sure it is set to 60. I'll just use 60 for this, and I'll just click enter like this. So I'll move this in place well, and next thing I'll be doing is I want to power clip it inside of this content I have here. So how do I do that? I'll right click on it. This is what I'm selecting. So I'll right click on it and click on power clip inside. Make sure you move to a safe point, which is at this point here. Make sure you're not selecting at this point because you get this error code, right? So make sure you select the safe points. A safe point is the area that doesn't get in the way of the original image you want to power clip. So I'll just select this. As you can see now, I've power clipped it inside of this rectangle, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the next element for this design. Let me zoom out so you see well, which is this. So I'll just drag and I would drop inside like this, right? So I'll just move this in place and make sure I position it well, right? So I'll just make sure I position it well like this, and that's all. So I'll simply go ahead and bring in my text tool because I'll be writing a few things on it. But before I go over to implementing those things I mentioned, I would want to create a light effect, right? So what I'll do is I'll go over to my ellipse tool, I'll draw a circle like this, and I'll be using this color I used for this. So how do I achieve that? I'll click on the eyedropper tool, select this one and fill it in this ellipse. So I'll simply remove the outline because we don't want to work with this back outline like this. So I'll simply remove that by right clicking on this. You can see I've gotten rid of it. So what I'll do is I'll select the transparency tool, I'll go over to the fountain transparency and I'll select the elliptical fountain transparency, just like this, right? So I'm going to make this bigger like this. I'll increase the size by holding shift key from the edge like this. I would increase the size just so it sits well with what we tend to use it for. Remember guys, the lighting effects. So for sake of orderliness, I want to place it inside of this rectangle. So what I'll just do is I'll just select it. This is what I'm selecting. Ctrl X and double click on the rectangle. It opens up everything you've power clipped. So you can just Ctrl V to paste it inside, right? So having done this, just click on finish, or you can right click and click on control and double click on the save place outside, right? But if you don't want to go through that stretch, just simply click on finish, and that's all, right? But I might need to intensify this lighting effect, so I'll just Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'll change this one blend mode to spring, right? Good. So having done this, I'll click finish. So this is what I have when I do that. So I'll just drag this inside like this. As you can see, my nice effect is beginning to make sense, right? So I have this. The next thing I'll do is I'll go over to my text tool and type out what I used. So I have delicious, right? And the next thing I have is Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and pizza, like this. So I'll just go ahead, select the both of them, and change to the text that I use, which is this Levi brush, right? Good. So the next thing I'll do is selecting the two of them like this. I'll just go over and make it white like this. Good. So I'll just drag them to the positions I want them to be in, which is this one at this point, and I'll drag the pizza also to where I want it to be, but I'll make this bigger, right? So you can zoom close to see what you are doing. Is always advisable to zoom close to see what you are doing in real time to avoid mistakes and all of that. So this is where I want it to be. I think I'm comfortable with it. So I'll just zoom out and so I'll just zoom out and make sure everything is in the right places, right? So the next thing I want to do is I would like to also bring in my next element, which is the pizza itself. But before I do that, I'll make sure I move this upward a bit so it doesn't get in the way of the pizza, right? So at this point, it's cool. It's good to also have a picture of what you intend doing at the back of your mind, so you are actually following your thought process, right? So the next thing I want to do is to bring in the next element, which is this pizza. So I'll just drag and, like I've always done before, drop like this. So I'll just move this in place this way and make sure it is not too big and it is not too small, just at the right place like this, right guys? Good. So the next thing I want to do is I'll come back to this to add some effect to it and a whole lot of things to it, but at this point I'll just leave it. The next thing I'll do is I'll go over to where I have my rectangle tool. This is where I would have the information for this particular flyer that I'm creating. So I'll just have this here, and of course it has a color, but I'll just give it white and remove the outline color. Now go over to your resource file and simply click on this second SVG file, which I labeled gradient, and just drag and drop inside like this. Now what you need to do is you need to transfer this gradient to this point. So how do you do this? So you just right drag on your mouse, not dragging, this is when you drag. Now when you right drag, this is what you get. Just right drag like this, you see this cursor. So when it's activated and you are sure you dragged it to the intended elements in your design, just release it and click on copy fill here. This is how you manually copy fill from one point to the other. Take for example, I have this shape here. What I can do is I can just simply drag like this from this point to this point and click on copy here, right? So it copies the features. Now I can also drag because I have a different phantom fill applied here compared to what I have here. So I can simply just right drag like this. When I see the arrow, I just drop it and click on copy fill here. You can see Now the gradient for this one is going from this point to this point, gradient from this going from this point to this point. So guys, that is the easy way you can copy fill from one element to the other. So because I don't need this again, I'll simply just delete this because I have this now. What I will just do with this, I'll just extend from this point like this, right? I think I'm cool with this. Okay guys, I won't be needing this any longer, so I'll delete this. So I have free space. Space is very, very important, so you can actually see what you're doing in real time. Now the next thing I would want to do is bring in my next element. It's not going to be my final element, but then click on it and I'll bring in the details, right? And simply bring inside like this. So I'll just position this here and drag inside like this, right? So the next thing and the final thing I'll be doing in this design is I'll be creating a lighting effect. So what I'll just do again, like I've done before, I'll click on this because I have my color here. If you don't have your color, you can just click your eyedropper tool and select this point in your design because this is the amount of lights we need. You don't need anything below this and above this. So this is just in a good place. So I'll select this and just apply it here. Right, go back to my pick tool and remove the outline, guys. Remove the outline. So what I want to do is I'll click on transparency tool, click on it and click on this second one, fountain transparency, and click on this elliptical fountain transparency. So this is what we have. But before I go out of that mode, I would like to change from normal to screen because this is the lighting process. So what we'll do is I'll copy this light now, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to areas that have light already. So I can increase it here like this, just so I have that feel. I can duplicate it here and have another one here like this, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. I can make this bigger, make sure it's on screen mode because if you don't put it to screen, you will have a different thing entirely. Right guys, and the next place I want to place it is somewhere over here, right? But for this one I would like to have two, so I've placed this first one here. I'll just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and I'll hold my shift key down while I do something like this, right? So having done this, I'll click on it again and position this well just to take on the shape of this pizza tray that I have here. As you can see guys, this is the shape that I created, so I can just align it well, right, to sit well, and move it down a bit. Good. So this is how I created that. So I can further intensify this, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, just to I'll reduce this a bit so it's not too much, and I think somewhere around here is cool. So I'll delete this and I'll zoom out so we'll see what we are doing in real time. Alright guys, so now the last thing I'll be doing to this design is I would want to make sure I create, like, I want a darker shade of this color in this region. So how do I achieve that? I'll simply click on the pen. I'll select the freehand tool. Under freehand tool, I'll select the pen tool, right? So I'll just go on and draw a shape like this, right? You don't need to be too precise. Just make sure you are drawing a triangle like this, right? So I'll click on my eyedropper tool and select this color. Since we have close relationship with this color we have here, so I'll just select it like this and apply it here, right? Good. And once again, right click here to remove the outline, right? So as you can see now, this is what we have. But now I want to simplify it furthermore, so I'll go to transparency, still clicking on this shape. Make sure you're clicking on the shape. I'll go back to my transparency tool and I'll simply just hold down my shift key while I drag out like this from this point. Make sure the black doesn't exceed this point, it's just on top of it like this, right guys? So I can have something like this. So I'll position it well so I don't have that this line I was having. So I'll just draw it and drag it like this so I get rid of that point. So I can now increase it like this. As you can see now, I've created a darker shade of this color on this part. So I don't want to leave it up here because why, it's already covering the details of this particular flyer. So what do? Control X to cut it, and I will double click on the power clip contents and just Control V to place it. Now when you place it, you don't need to do any other thing again. Just click on finish, and this is what you have. So this is how you can create shades. If you want a darker shade, you can just go over to your shape tool and go over to your transparency tool to blend them in perfectly well. So I haven't gotten to this point. There is nothing I want to add to this flyer. This brings me to the end of this design. And guys, if you've liked this design, please comment below and share, like, and comment, please, guys. If you've not subscribed, please hit the subscribe buttons. And I have an important announcement for Photoshop, guys. We'll be starting our tutorial series in the month of May. So get set, because I'll be dropping content for Photoshop users. Of course, you will not be left behind. So guys, endeavor to always turn on my post notifications, so when you miss anything I'll be dropping from this time soon. So guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.